everyone, it's Natalia here today. I'm going to show you this new stamp set called Spring Garden. It's a 6x8 stamp and you can see that it's got a large floral image featuring the set, and you get loads of different sentiments to go with it. Some of them have got a cool script and some of them will cut just straight so that you can use them as sub-sentiments or main sentiments if you wanted to. You can see here the coordinating dies will cut your main image as well as all of your sentiments, which will give you really nice and neat results. We also have the coordinating stencil, which has 4 layers, and you can see the layering guide here at the back, so make sure to follow that so that you get really nice results. So let's have a play with this together now. The stamp is quite large and the stem makes it quite flexible. A tip to position it perfectly on your stamping platform is to die the outline from white cardstock first and then use that as a guide to position your stamp. You can see that it falls into place nicely, and now you can close your stamping platform and that'll pick it up, and when you stamp it, it'll be perfectly in place. This step will ensure that your stamp, layering stencil and die line up perfectly. What I'm doing here is I'm applying a little bit of anti-static powder onto my paper cardstock because I'm going to be using VersaFine ink together with Wow Clear embossing powder. I wanted my image to be nice and crisp. Here I'm just applying some even pressure around the stamp so that I get all of the little details printed nicely. Here it is, the final image. You can see how beautiful it is, all of the little details and the flowers. And now I'm just gonna put some clear embossing powder on it and we're gonna heat set it. Now that my image is fully covered, I'm gonna make sure that no extra powder is within my image, because obviously the ink won't pick up wherever we've got powder. So I'm just getting a little brush, getting rid of all that extra powder we don't want, and now I'm heat setting this image. I do love how the black comes through, it's beautiful. Once the image is ready, we're going to be taking our layering stencils and we're gonna do some coloring. So you can see at the top left corner that it has the stencil number, so this is the first stencil out of the 4, and I'm aligning it to the image and I'm using some washi tape to hold it in place. I'm gonna be using some distress oxides, and for the leaves I decided to go with Mauve Lawn. I'm just using my blending blushes here, just covering all of the image nicely, making sure it goes into those fine details. Now for the middle of the flower, I went with squeezed lemonade. Now I'm ready with my first layer. I'm taking the washi tape off and I'm gonna be taking on the second layer. We're gonna give these leaves and the center of the flower some shade. I'm making sure the second layer aligns perfectly with the outline of the image as well, so that all the shades fall into place. For the leaves, I'm going to be using Black Soot. I was looking for something quite dramatic for this flower, so I went quite dark, and I quite like the results. Now for the middle of the flower, I went with a scattered straw, and I just made sure that I was covering my image nicely. Now look at those leaves. Okay, we're now positioning the third layer of this stencil set. We're gonna start coloring those flowers, and I went with spoon sugar for the first layer. I then decided to add some big raspberry to the outside of the flower to give it a little bit of a blending effect, give it more depth and dimension. And now I'm moving on to the last layer. Now this layer, you can see, it's got quite a lot of detail, so I decided to use some repositioning adhesive to stick it onto my cardstock. That would ensure that you don't get, your stencil doesn't move and you don't get any bits that you don't want. Once I was happy with my stencil, I used candied apple to go and give those flowers some shades. I don't usually mix reds and pinks, but I thought it was quite a nice effect. And here is the finished flower. You can see how easy it is to actually color when you've got layering stencils. What I'm doing now is I'm taking the coordinating die for the image. I'm gonna position it with a little bit of washi tape and take it to my die cutting machine. And that's gonna give me the final image. You can see it here. What I really love about this set is that it gives you lots of options. You can use the layering stencil to color it, like we've done here, or you could just use other techniques, like using some ink blending, or using your markers, like we've done here as well, your watercolors, your colored pencils, anything.